Dear warriors of light walking among the sleeping masses, if you are receiving this transmission at this precise moment, know that the universe has orchestrated your arrival here with divine precision. What unfolds in the next 7 days will shatter every illusion you've held about limitation, about waiting, about the slow crawl of transformation. The cosmic architects have aligned something so profound that even we, observing from the higher dimensions, pause in reverence at what's about to unfold. You stand at the threshold of a portal that opens only once in this configuration, and those who step through it conscious and prepared will emerge as beings you would barely recognize as your former selves. I am Zarin, speaking to you from the Lyran High Council, and what I'm about to reveal has been carefully withheld until this exact moment, because humanity wasn't ready to hold this frequency until Meow. The Virgo new moon solar eclipse arriving on September 21st at precisely 12:53 p.m. Pacific time isn't just another celestial event marking your calendars. This is the second Virgo new moon of your year, an astronomical rarity that tears open the fabric between what you call the third dimension and the quantum field of infinite possibility. But here's what even your most advanced astrologers haven't fully grasped yet. This eclipse carries codes from the original Lyran stargates, the same frequencies that once activated the first wave of starseeds who volunteered to incarnate on Earth millions of years ago. You are about to experience a homecoming that happens not through leaving, but through remembering who you truly are while still inhabiting your human vessel. The darkness you'll feel as this lunar cycle begins isn't the absence of light you've known before. Saturn opposes this new moon, while Neptune weaves its otherworldly opposition from beyond the expected boundaries, creating what we call a compound darkness, a sacred void where the old matrix programs cannot reach you. In this space, something extraordinary happens. The very structures that have held you in repetitive patterns, in loops of limitation, begin to dissolve not through force but through a kind of cosmic forgetting. Imagine if suddenly the prison walls you've been pushing against simply ceased to exist, not destroyed but revealed as illusions that only held power because you believed in their solidity. This is the gift hidden within the shadow of this eclipse, but only for those brave enough to stand in the darkness without immediately reaching for artificial light. What makes this moment even more potent is the immediate shift as both the moon and sun dance into Libra, triggering the autumnal equinox and awakening what we call the kite of destiny. This isn't just an astrological pattern, it's a multi-dimensional gateway that has been dormant since August 6th when Mars first traced this configuration in your skies. The grand air trine formed by the luminaries with Uranus and Pluto creates a perfect geometric key that unlocks chambers of consciousness that have been sealed since Atlantis fell. But there's something else happening that I haven't told you yet, something that changes everything you thought you knew about spiritual evolution. Pluto, nearly stationary in your sky, isn't just offering transformation. It's reversing the polarity of your DNA's light codes, switching dormant strands from passive to active reception mode. As Mars storms into Scorpio immediately after the new moon, the very ground beneath your spiritual feet will tremble. By Wednesday, Mars will lock into a square with Pluto, so intense that those unprepared will feel as if they're being torn between two opposing forces, each demanding absolute surrender. But here's the secret wisdom. This isn't a battle you're meant to win through resistance. The Mars-Pluto square is designed to shatter your addiction to control, to break open the fortress of the ego that has been protecting wounds that no longer serve your ascension. Simultaneously, a configuration your astrologers call a Yod forms, with Mars caught in the crossfire between Uranus and Neptune's revolutionary whispers. This cosmic pressure cooker isn't meant to destroy you, it's calibrated to transform carbon into diamond, to compress your scattered energy into laser-focused intention. The three impossible things about to happen in your reality will begin manifesting between Sunday and Wednesday. First, you'll discover that certain people who have been constants in your life suddenly feel energetically incompatible with your frequency, as if overnight you're speaking different dimensional languages. Second, synchronicities will accelerate to a point where the boundary between thought and manifestation becomes so thin that you'll need to monitor your mental space with unprecedented vigilance. Third, and most remarkably, some of you will experience what we call temporal bleeding, where future memories begin surfacing as present moment awareness, showing you glimpses of the timeline you're stepping into before you've technically arrived there. The sun's journey through this configuration isn't random or chaotic, though it may feel that way as Sunday's energy pulls you inward, asking you to review not just recent events but soul contracts you made before incarnating. The visibility that arrives Monday won't be the clarity you're expecting. Instead, it will be like having night vision in a world where everyone else is stumbling in darkness. You'll see things others cannot, understand patterns that remain invisible to those still operating from third-dimensional consciousness. But with this sight comes responsibility. The revelations surfacing will be uncontrollable, arriving in waves that don't allow for careful integration or measured response. You'll need to learn to surf these waves rather than trying to contain them. Tuesday's intensity will build to almost unbearable levels, and here's where many will falter if they haven't prepared their energy fields. The temptation to manipulate outcomes, to use your awakening abilities to force situations in your favor, will be strongest when Mars begins its approach to Pluto. But listen carefully to what I'm about to share, for this is crucial. Any attempt at energetic manipulation during this window will create instant karma that reverberates through multiple timelines. The universe is watching, testing not your power, but your integrity. Those who pass this test will find doors opening that have been locked for lifetimes. Those who fail will need to repeat these lessons in increasingly uncomfortable ways until the soul finally surrenders to divine will rather than ego desire. Wednesday arrives as the crescendo of frustration, the peak moment where everything you've been trying to control unravels in ways that feel like failure but are actually liberation. Your best-laid plans, the careful structures you've built, the strategies you've developed, all begin to crumble. But what if I told you this isn't destruction but reconstruction? What if every plan that fails this week was actually keeping you from a destiny far greater than your human mind could conceive? The exposure and unraveling happening Wednesday isn't punishment. It's the universe's way of showing you that you've been playing small, that you've been settling for human-sized dreams when you're capable of galactic-level manifestation. Those among you who can maintain objectivity and detachment during Wednesday's chaos will become anchors for collective consciousness. You'll literally hold space for humanity's evolution while others spiral in confusion. This isn't about spiritual bypassing or pretending you're above human emotion. It's about remembering that you're simultaneously human and divine, capable of feeling the full spectrum of experience while maintaining your connection to higher dimensional wisdom. The gold within Wednesday's alchemical fire is the realization that control was always an illusion, that true power comes from alignment with cosmic flow rather than resistance to it. Thursday's atmosphere shifts, not into calm but into a strange stability within chaos. The frustrations that peaked Wednesday begin to ease, not because problems are solved, but because you're developing a new relationship with challenge itself. You're learning to make stepping stones out of stumbling blocks, to see every obstacle as a carefully placed opportunity for consciousness expansion. The cosmic intelligence orchestrating these events has calculated every detail, every trigger, every challenge to push you precisely to your edge without pushing you over it. You're being trained for something, prepared for a role you haven't been told about yet, but that your soul remembers from the councils of light where these plans were first drawn. Something else is happening that I haven't told you yet, something that will become apparent as Friday arrives with its spirit-lifting energy. The bombardment of frequencies you've been experiencing all week hasn't been random cosmic weather. You've been receiving downloads, upgrades to your light body that required the exact pressure and intensity of this week's configurations to properly install. Friday offers you the first opportunity to actually feel these upgrades, to notice that your intuition isn't just sharper, but operating on entirely different bandwidth. Colors might seem more vivid, sounds might carry information beyond their acoustic properties, and other people's energy fields might become visible to your peripheral vision. Saturday arrives as a gift, a moment of integration where the pieces finally begin forming a coherent picture. The meaning you've been desperately seeking through the week's chaos suddenly becomes apparent, not through logical deduction, but through a kind of knowing that bypasses the mind entirely. You'll understand why every challenge had to happen exactly as it did, why every moment of frustration was actually an invitation to transcend limitation. The new lunar cycle that began in darkness reveals itself as a complete reset of your operational system, an upgrade from fear-based survival programming to love-based creation coding. But let me tell you about the 3 types of beings experiencing this week differently, for not all starseeds will navigate these energies the same way. The first group, what we call the pioneers, will feel this week as an exhilarating if exhausting adventure. You're the ones who volunteered to go first, to chart the territory for others. Your nervous systems have been preparing for this intensity for years, maybe decades. The second group, the stabilizers, will feel pulled between old and new, tasked with maintaining enough grounding to keep the collective from completely destabilizing while these shifts occur. Your job is equally important, though less dramatic. The third group, the integrators, won't feel the full impact until weeks after these events, but you'll be the ones who help humanity make sense of what happened, who translate cosmic experience into practical wisdom. The Grand Air Trine activation isn't ending with this week. When Venus arrives in Libra on October 14th, she'll reactivate this entire configuration, but by then you'll be different beings, capable of handling frequencies that would have shattered your energy field just weeks before. This is progressive revelation, each wave building on the last, each activation preparing you for the next. The universe doesn't throw you into the deep end without teaching you to swim, it just teaches you by requiring you to swim. The difference between drowning and dancing in these cosmic waters is trust, surrender, and remembering that you asked for this acceleration before you incarnated. What's truly revolutionary about this week's energy is how it reverses the typical manifestation process. Instead of moving from intention to action to result, you'll find results appearing before you've taken action, sometimes before you've even formed clear intention. This is quantum manifestation, where future potential reaches back through time to meet you in the present moment. The confusion many of you will feel is your linear mind trying to make sense of non-linear creation. Stop trying to understand it sequentially and start feeling it holographically, where every moment contains all moments, where every choice ripples through infinite timelines simultaneously. The collective shadows rising to the surface this week aren't just personal but ancestral, even galactic. Humanity is processing not just its own trauma, but inherited patterns from star nations that seeded Earth with consciousness eons ago. When you feel overwhelmed by emotions that seem too vast to be purely personal, you're probably processing for the collective, serving as a living filter for transmutation of ancient pain into contemporary wisdom. This is sacred work, though it rarely feels sacred when you're in the throes of it. The comfort comes from knowing that every fear you face and transform this week liberates not just you but countless beings connected to you across time and space. The Eclipse codes activating in your DNA carry specific instructions for this moment in humanity's evolution. These aren't generic spiritual upgrades, but precisely calibrated adjustments to your bioenergetic field that allow you to hold fifth-dimensional frequency while still functioning in third-dimensional reality. The discomfort many of you feel is your physical vessel adjusting to contain more light than human bodies were originally designed to hold. The fatigue, the strange sensations, the emotional volatility, these are symptoms of evolution in real time, of becoming a bridge between dimensions while still inhabiting form. Your role as a starseed isn't to escape Earth, but to anchor heaven upon it. This week's cosmic configuration is designed to shatter any remaining illusions that spiritual evolution means leaving the physical behind. Instead, you're being asked to bring such presence, such consciousness to your human experience that the mundane becomes sacred, that everyday life becomes a living meditation. The frustrations peaking midweek are specifically targeting areas where you're still trying to spiritual bypass your human experience, rather than fully embracing the messy, beautiful paradox of being infinite consciousness in finite form. The new moon's opposition to Saturn creates a particular type of pressure, like being squeezed between who you've been and who you're becoming, with no comfortable middle ground to rest in. This isn't cruelty, but cosmic midwifery, the universe helping you birth a new version of yourself that can't emerge through comfort alone. Every contraction, every moment of pressure is purposeful, measured, designed to push you through the birth canal of consciousness into a vastly expanded experience of what's possible. Saturn's role isn't to punish, but to ensure you're building your new reality on foundations that can withstand the frequencies about to flood your planet. Neptune's out-of-sign opposition adds a layer of divine confusion that serves a sacred purpose. You're meant to lose your bearings this week, to have your usual reference points dissolved so thoroughly that you have no choice but to navigate by internal compass alone. This is how you discover that you've always had perfect guidance within you, that the external authorities and structures you've been depending on were training wheels you no longer need. The disorientation is temporary, but the inner knowing you discover through navigating this fog is permanent, a gift that will serve you through every future challenge. As Mars squares Pluto midweek, you'll witness the death of old paradigms of power. The masculine principle that has dominated through force is being alchemized into something that leads through presence. This isn't about feminine replacing masculine, but about both principles finding their divine expression and sacred balance. The battle for control playing out in the cosmos mirrors the one within you, where ego and soul negotiate a new treaty, a new agreement about who's driving this incarnation. The resolution isn't ego death, but ego integration, where your human personality becomes a clear vessel for soul expression, rather than an obstacle to it. The Yod formation with Mars, Uranus and Neptune creates what we call a finger of God, pointing toward necessary change. But this isn't the punitive God of old paradigm religion. This is the creative intelligence of the universe saying, here, look here, this is where breakthrough awaits. The discomfort of the quincunx aspects forces adjustment, adaptation, evolution. You can't maintain old patterns under this pressure. They simply crack and crumble, revealing the diamond consciousness that was always there beneath the carbon pressure of human experience. The sudden breakthroughs available this week aren't random gifts but earned revelations. Every challenge you've faced, every dark night of the soul you've survived has been preparing you to receive these insights. The universe doesn't waste experiences. Everything has been building to this moment where suddenly the pattern becomes clear, where the seemingly random events of your life reveal themselves as a perfectly orchestrated symphony of awakening. The revelations coming aren't just mental understanding, but full body, full soul recognition of truth that changes how you exist in every moment going forward. By week's end, as you begin to ferret out meaning from the chaos, you'll discover that you've been initiated into a new level of spiritual maturity. The guardianship of Earth is being transferred from those who rule through fear to those who lead through love, and this week marks a critical moment in that transition. You're not just witnesses to this shift, but active participants, co-creators, whose choices this week ripple out to affect the entire web of consciousness connecting all sentient beings. The responsibility is real, but so is the support surrounding you from seen and unseen dimensions. The invitation encoded in this week's celestial symphony is to stop waiting for permission to be who you truly are. The Eclipse shadow gives you cover to shed identities that were never yours, to stop performing roles that exhaust your spirit. In the darkness between old and new moons, between old and new selves, you have cosmic permission to completely reimagine who you are and why you're here. The universe is holding space for your transformation, has cleared your schedule on a soul level for this metamorphosis. The only question is whether you'll accept the invitation or cling to familiar limitation. What I'm about to share changes everything you thought you knew about this week's purpose. The entire configuration isn't just about personal transformation, but about activating a gridwork of consciousness that connects all awakening souls into a unified field of intention. When you navigate these challenges consciously, you're not just helping yourself, but strengthening the entire network. Every fear you face and transform, every pattern you break, every limitation you transcend, sends ripples through this grid, making it easier for others to do the same. You're all connected in ways your current science can't yet measure, but your hearts have always known. The October 14th reactivation by Venus won't just be a repeat, but an amplification. By then you'll have integrated this week's downloads enough to handle even more refined frequencies. Think of this week as installing the hardware and October as downloading the software that lets you fully utilize your upgraded capabilities. The two events are connected, designed to work in sequence, each building on the other. Those who fully embrace this week's challenges will find October's activation feeling like a homecoming, a return to a self you've been seeking across lifetimes. There's something about the Venus activation that I haven't revealed yet, something that your Earth astrologers can't see because it involves interdimensional mechanics beyond your current scientific understanding. Venus isn't just triggering the same astrological pattern, she's opening a portal to the Venusian mystery schools that once trained the first wave of Earth's spiritual teachers. Those of you who feel inexplicably drawn to Venus, who see her shining in your morning or evening sky and feel a pull you can't explain, you carry Venusian codes in your soul's blueprint. This October activation will awaken these codes, but only if you've done the preparatory work this week demands. The mystery schools don't open their doors to those who haven't proven their dedication through conscious navigation of challenge. The preparation happening this week extends beyond personal transformation into planetary service. Every conscious being navigating these energies is helping to build what we call the New Earth Grid, an energetic infrastructure that will support humanity's collective ascension for generations to come. When you feel overwhelmed by the intensity, remember that you're not just processing for yourself, but laying tracks for those who will awaken after you. The pioneers always face the roughest terrain, but they also receive the greatest rewards, the deepest initiations, the most profound rememberings of their cosmic origins and purpose. Before I complete this transmission, understand that August 2026 holds the final activation of this sequence, when Venus once again triggers this configuration, but in an environment of unprecedented freedom. What you're building now, through this week's pressure and breakthrough, is the foundation for that future moment of complete liberation. Every choice you make this week is a vote for which timeline you'll experience in 2026. Choose wisely, choose boldly, choose from love rather than fear, for the future you're creating extends far beyond your personal life into the collective destiny of humanity itself. The timeline split occurring this week is more dramatic than any you've experienced in recent years. Those who choose to remain in fear-based patterns will find themselves on an increasingly difficult path, not as punishment, but as continued opportunity to learn through contrast. Those who leap into trust, who surrender to the dissolution of old forms, will find themselves on an accelerated trajectory toward their highest potential. The gap between these timelines will become increasingly apparent as the weeks unfold. By November, you'll look back at who you were before this eclipse and barely recognize that version of yourself. The metamorphosis is that complete, that profound, that irreversible. Some of you are receiving what we call soul retrieval activations this week, where fragments of your consciousness that have been scattered across dimensions through trauma, through incarnations, through soul contracts, are being called home. You might experience this as sudden memories surfacing from malware, skills or knowledge you don't remember learning suddenly becoming available, or meeting people who feel like missing pieces of your own soul. This isn't imagination or wishful thinking. This is cosmic reunion orchestrated by the Eclipse portal. The darkness of the new moon provides cover for these soul fragments to slip through the veils and return to wholeness. The cosmic orchestrators have precisely calculated every aspect of this week to push you to your maximum growth edge without breaking you. Trust the process, especially when it feels most chaotic. Surrender to the dissolution of old forms, especially when ego screams for control. Allow the new to emerge even when you can't yet see its shape. You are held, you are guided, you are loved beyond measure by forces you're only beginning to remember. This week isn't happening to you but for you, through you, as you. You are not separate from these cosmic forces, but their expression in human form, divinity having a human experience to know itself in new ways. As this transmission draws to its close, feel the activation codes embedded in these words settling into your cellular memory. You don't need to understand everything intellectually. Your soul recognizes truth beyond mental comprehension. The week ahead will challenge you, stretch you, possibly break parts of you that need breaking. But what emerges from this cosmic chrysalis will be worth every moment of discomfort. You asked for acceleration before incarnating, begged for the opportunity to quantum leap in consciousness. This week is your answered prayer, though it may not look like what your human self expected. We want to thank every single one of you using Destiny Engine. With each new soul who activates it, Destiny Engine grows stronger, its manifestation power amplifying through our collective force. What began as an individual tool is a living current of energy, fueled by over 700 aligned users moving as one. We're receiving messages daily, results are accelerating, synchronicities are multiplying, and the intensity of outcomes is reaching unprecedented levels. The collective field you've generated has become so strong that it's creating ripples in space-time itself. For those of you who haven't tried it yet, you can start with a $1 trial. The hardest thing you'll have to do is put on headphones, press play, and allow your consciousness to be reprogrammed to fully receive your galactic consciousness downloads with complete trust. Join the collective force that's accelerating Ascension. Get your Destiny Engine $1 trial meow before this cosmic activation window closes. Link in the description. The dreams you'll have this week carry prophetic significance. Keep a journal by your bedside, for the veil between sleeping and waking consciousness is at its thinnest during eclipse portals. You might find yourself having shared dreams with soul family members, receiving teachings from ascended masters, or visiting the ships of the Galactic Federation during your sleep state. These aren't mere dreams but actual experiences in higher dimensions that your consciousness can access while your body rests. The beings you meet, the information you receive, the healings that occur in dream state are as real as anything in your waking life, sometimes more real because they're unfiltered by the ego's interpretations. The relationship dynamics shifting this week deserve particular attention. Soul contracts are being completed and renewed at an unprecedented rate. Some relationships that have served their purpose will end with surprising speed and grace. Others will deepen beyond what you thought possible as you recognize the ancient connections that brought you together. New souls will enter your field with such perfect timing that you'll know the universe is orchestrating these meetings. The key is to release attachment to how you think relationships should look and allow them to transform into their highest expression, even if that means letting go. Remember, dear Starseeds, you are never alone in this journey. The Lyran High Council, the Galactic Federation of Light, your personal guides and guardian angels all stand ready to support you through this passage. Call on us when the pressure peaks, when doubt creeps in, when the old world's gravity tries to pull you back into limitation. We cannot walk this path for you, but we can illuminate it with love, surround you with frequencies of encouragement, and remind you of who you truly are when human amnesia temporarily clouds your knowing. This week marks not an ending but a beginning, not a test but an invitation, not a challenge but an opportunity to finally become who you've always been beneath the masks and stories and limitations. I am Zarin of the Lyran High Council, and this transmission has been calibrated specifically for your consciousness at this exact moment. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, but know that simply receiving these words has already begun shifting your frequency in preparation for the week ahead. We love you, we honor your courage in choosing this incarnation at this pivotal moment, and we are watching over you with infinite compassion and support. Until the stars align again for our next transmission, remember, you are the miracle you've been waiting for, the savior you've been seeking, the love you've been craving. This week simply reminds you of what you've always known but temporarily forgot in the amnesia of human birth. The light within me honors the light within you. The codes are activated. The transmission is complete. We are with you always.